Hi, I'm Gary Streigler, and I want to share something with you that I do sometimes in my shop or even on the job site. So this is the standard insert that comes with the table saw. Now, it's got a couple pins on this side that go underneath and lock it in, and then it's also got, this feature that locks it on the back side. But it does have a pretty wide opening in it, and that's so that if you tilt your saw blade, you're not going to hit this metal. But there are times when you want to cut something where you have very minimal tear out on the bottom, or another instance would be if I want to put a dado head on the saw, which I want to show, where you need to have kind of a zero clearance insert. So this is a piece of 1/2-inch MDF that I just took this, laid it down, traced around it, and cut it relatively close with a bandsaw. If you want to go a little more trouble, you could sand it even. And there's little tabs, 1, 2, 3, 4 little tabs in here that this fits down on. This actually has some adjustable set screws that you screw up and down to get it pretty well flush with the table. Now, for me, the worst thing that I could have is this higher than the table on the back side. You want it pretty close to flush. So, yeah, I'm getting ready to get into that point where, as I always try and tell people, if you see me doing something you're not comfortable with, then simply don't do it. Even when I have this blade all the way down, and this is pretty snug when I put it in there, I kind of tap it in, it was hitting the blade a little bit. So what I did was take something, a piece of wood, and clamped it here to hold this backside down. Then I held with my finger here, this was up a little bit. Then I started just gently cranking the blade up through until I got just a little bit of socker. You really don't even have to come all the way through the top at this point. But then once you've got that saw curve started, where you know where it is, you can take your fence. Let's see, I'll leave the fence up going right. You can bring your fence over to where it's right there, and the fence will hold that insert in place while you raise the blade up. Again, I'm pretty comfortable doing that, but if you're not comfortable with it, you can always figure out another way. One other little thing that I did when I got this made, I may have to, because it is kind of snug, I actually have to use the blade to bring it up. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There would be nothing wrong with drilling a little hole here somewhere for your finger to go in and pull it up. But on the back side, this was just a little bit higher than I was comfortable with. So I just took a router bit. I mean, that barely, I probably took a 32nd or 16th off. I don't know if you can see it or not. And I didn't have to be very accurate. I just kind of wallowed around where those tabs were, these two tabs, and that allowed that to sit down flush. So again, if you're cutting some plywood that you want to minimize tear out on the bottom, or if you're going to put a dado head in a saw like this, you're probably going to want to make a kind of a sacrificial insert. Again, just remember that it doesn't have these tabs to hook underneath. I could probably make something like that if you wanted to, but as long as I can make sure I've got the fence over the top of them, I'm cranking up to where it's not going to kick out, I'm fine with it. But at any rate, it's just a simple thing. You could also use Baltic birch plywood, 1/2-inch Baltic birch. If you end up having something that's a little bit thin, you could hot melt and glue a little shim on the bottom side of it to bring it up flush. But the key is you want to be flush or a little bit low, not up high. So that's how I made that insert. In the next video, I'm going to show you how I used it with a dado head.